welcome to all you wonderful subscribers. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for being here. We are continuing our discussion with Stephen Ruback about the Aquarian age, some of the changes that this transition period is, what it means basically during this transition period, and some of the things that we are facing here. And I want to begin this segment to talk a little bit about the feminine and the masculine. Even this seems to be something that's kind of runs throughout. When you read your document, you notice that you talk a lot about the feminine energies and the masculine energies. And what I want to ask you here to begin with is there a war going on between these two energies, or what's going on here?
Well, we could class it as a war, but it's a lot deeper than that. Basically, for the last several thousand years, we have been in a great cosmic experiment, in that we have been on this planet in the total and complete denial of the feminine energy. Now, before we go any further with that, let's make it clear that we are all composed of a masculine and a feminine energy. And it's not like positive and negative, but they're two polar opposites.
Sure.
Masculine is the analytical, the stepwise, the logical, the physical energy.
Mm-hmm.
The feminine energy is the creative, integrative, the why behind the inner energy. Now, just to pose a simple thought that might help pull this together, what if what we call the subconscious is the feminine energy, and what if we could bring that into full conscious partnership with our analytical?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It
would change everything on this planet.
It would open up a whole new area, of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
That's very interesting. So
just because the feminine is in denial doesn't mean it's not working. But imagine a young lady who has been beaten upon, cursed, spit upon, rocks thrown at, and generally condemned to a dark cave.
Yeah. Sheesh.
You say, hey, come on out. Here's a little piece of white bread. Yeah.
Sheesh.
So It's not quite as simple as, in fact, we're stuck in that denial. That's the experiment is over. You ever heard old tales about the Amazon women?
Oh yeah, the very large women, right?
Well, possibly.
Possibly. Okay.
The point is that it was an entire social structure,
mm-hmm,
entire energy based on the denial of the masculine energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if you go back in past life experiences, you can actually get in touch with this energy, and you can feel it, and you can see it in action. And we have experienced over thousands of years, many, many lifetimes, each of us, in both of these dysfunctional polarities, so that we can know within every fiber of our being the dysfunctionality and express fully, functionally, the positive and integrated aspect. The trouble is we're still stuck in the denial.
Okay, wow, that's very interesting. So we're kind of swinging back and forth between these, but we never attain the balance then.
Well, think of it as a grand cosmic experience that for several thousand years the planet was set up in an energy structure that was in that denial. And then they changed the polarity of that, the hierarchy that oversees the planetary energies.
Mm-hmm. And
the last 2,000 or so, 3,000 years have been in the denial of the feminine. And the experiment is now over, done, and we're still stuck in that denial. We haven't been able to get out of it. And the only way that we can get out of it is conscious acceptance of that feminine energy. And before we can accept it, we have to be able to recognize it. And then we have to acknowledge it. But once that has happened, it cannot be denied for that individual ever again.
Interesting. What we're seeing now, I see this more as a symbolic gesture than anything else, or a gesture, but a symbolic outcome of what you're talking about here. I would say that the Aquarian age, this is my idea of it anyway, that the Aquarian age brings with it, female energies, and what we actually are seeing now with actually more female, presidents and leaders and in political positions and so forth, that this is a kind of a symbol for that. I have no idea if this is a fake thing, though. Excuse me?
This is a trap.
Okay, interesting.
Aquarian energies are masculine.
Oh, really?
The Piscean energies are feminine, so they have provided an underpinning support for this structure. As we move into the Aquarian energies, there is no support for that denial, for the feminine energy within. And what we're seeing is a kind of a strange distortion of these energies trying to emerge, but they can only emerge through the masculine energy. So we have women who are dressing like men, using men's tools, fighting in the men's arena to take over and win.
I see what you mean.
Win against the, quote, enemy, fighting on their ground with their rules. In fact, you can't win by fighting because we're fighting ourselves.
Very good point.
Which is why that has not worked. The glass ceiling is still well there. And people keep running and splatting against that kind of thing. We've had the feminist liberation movement now, and all it's done is provide new forms of slavery. Now all the women, instead of working at home and raising the children, are out working too.
That's right. That's right.
So something went wrong there. And our creativity hasn't become unleashed. It's still captured by this denial. So that's part of like the bugs running around on a hot skillet that we see going on. The heat's getting hotter, and we only have one way to break out of it in the long run, and that is acceptance of that feminine, breaking out of that denial. And once it's accepted, there's no battle.
And do you think that this will be more potentially easier under when we're in the Aquarian age?
Oh, absolutely. Because if we don't, just think of this society turned into a structure run by runaway mad scientists who have no accounting whatsoever for the energies within, for the spiritual aspect of things. They're focused entirely on the physical.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Well, I definitely know what you mean there. I mean, we've been doing a little short film about the masculine is even taking over some of the sciences that are attributed to actually producing children and cloning and so forth. Regenerativity and things that has to do with the reproduction basically. And
absolutely,
and science is going in there now, and it's all it's all about the masculine right there. So it's sheesh, it's a nightmare.
That's the essence. And then we have this business going on the outside. Traditionally, for many years, we had the secular and we had the clerical, or the religious and the political, if you will. And we had a balance of power between those two, the witch doctor and the king. And over the last few years, there's a group of people in the sciences who have tried to take over from the religious power structure and have made some semblance of success. So now we have a three-legged stool for those who would control us. We have the religious folks on one side. We have the scientists who deny the religious, and that's why they're fighting with each other. They're wrestling over the power of control, both of which are fed financially, directly or indirectly, by government.
Yeah.
So we have all that going on, and it works as long as we are in denial of the feminine energy within.
Are there any good ways to open up this area? I mean, how are people even going to get in contact with the feminine side of themselves?
All right, that's an excellent question. The first step for anything is to set their personal intent. I hereby set my conscious and full intent to become aware of and appreciate my creative feminine energies within. That's how you do anything.
That's right.
Set the intent. And what that will do is trigger the inner self to come forth. Now, sometimes because we've been beat on it so deeply and so badly, it may be reluctant, and there will be some painful things that will be stimulated. Because what happens with all this emotional baggage? We're taught from day one to push it down in some judgment about self or whatever that we don't like. It's painful. Well, you're inadequate. Maybe some teacher said something, a parent said something, a sibling said something, and we actually accept that judgment. Well, it hurts. So what do? We push it down inside where we can get to it.
Yeah.
It's like sticking a thorn. Oh, we'll just push it deeper, and then it's not there, and then we deny it. So what that does, the only way it can actually come out is get conscious recognition and release. So it creates an experience in our life that gets it triggered. So what do? We push it back down with more power. And this goes on over and over in each of those experiences. Because it's held down with more power, it becomes more powerful till at some point we reach the splat effect where we just blow up. I can't do this anymore. That's the traditional way of doing things, and sometimes it takes many lifetimes to get to that point.
Really?
Whereas the other approach is to go in consciously, and sometimes there are many tools for this, guided meditation, self-hypnosis, past life regression, just simply setting the intent will bring one of these experiences. So one of these experiences comes up and confronts us in the face, and we feel that pain rather than pushing it back down in with more energy so it'll come back to haunt us, is grab it. Observe the feelings that flow through this pain, these judgments that are attached to something. What's this attached to? Oh, there it is. And simply consciously release it. Let it go. It no longer serves me. It's absolutely incredibly simple.
And it's a very
powerful.
And it's a very personal thing also, and it's only you yourself who can, recognize what the energy is and actually deal with it in the right way, right?
There you got the essence of it. You can't fix somebody else.
Yeah.
It gets back to, why are you filling with a speck in somebody's eye when you got a log in yours?
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
When I teach a healing class, one of the first things that people get in their mind, I'm going to go out and heal the world.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're not.
And this goes back to what we discussed earlier about the, in a way that's kind of related to the self-sacrifice energy that you take upon yourself, that you shall bear the entire, load of the world basically, and it's up to you to change it. But rather, if we turn that around and think, if I change myself and if everybody else would actually focus on that, then the world actually would be a whole lot better, right?
Absolutely. Now that brings us to another very, very important principle. If you have, say, 100 people, and those people aren't thinking of anything in particular one way or the other, their minds are all off doing different things. It only takes 10% of those people focused on one concept, one idea, to move that 100 people. I'll give you a couple examples. Remember the Berlin Wall?
Yeah.
That was in place for many years because we had a bunch of people up in charge or in control, powers behind the scenes, whatever, whose intent was to divide, and they brought forth that wall. Meanwhile, they kept the people bickering about all kinds of things. One fine day, more than 10% of the people had the mindset in their mind, said, this is no more. It is no longer tolerable. And overnight it came down. I remember the Chancellor of West Germany, who shortly thereafter got on an airplane to go to visit some discussions about the partitioning in Berlin or whatever, and he made some sort of a comment right there in the media that this unification was not even on the table. You know what? The mindset was overwhelming, and it didn't matter what